10 WWE wrestlers who made more money not wrestling outside of WWE. Number 10, Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose had an incredibly controversial WWE exit, as Rose was cut from a WWE contract due to her posting adult content online. Since her release, this content has resulted in Rose making an extraordinary amount of money, with her fan time account reportedly earning over $1 million. Rose discussed her new income during an appearance on the Power Alphas podcast, and according to the former NXT Women's Champion, one individual spent over $50,000 on her content. I've had one person, I won't say names, one person and on this fan time spend $55,000 on me. So I'm like, wow, what does he do for a living that he's able to spend this kind of money on one person? $55,000, and it was definitely over a little time period, but it was wild, so thank you. So it is kind of crazy. Mandy Rose hasn't ruled out a return to the squared circle. However, with Rose earning so much money outside into this venture, it seems highly unlikely that she'd ever return to WWE full-time. Number 9, JBL. Now in 2004, WWE decided to turn Bradshaw into JBL. This would be one of the best decisions he ever made, as JBL would just be an extension of the real-life version of Bradshaw, and being one of the most notable things about the character was that he portrayed a wealthy individual who understood stocks and shares inside out. Now believe it or not, this was totally legit, and WWE decided to embrace JBL's success within the new character. He could have easily retired from pro wrestling in the early 2000s, but he kept wrestling, as pro wrestling was his true love. JBL became so rich outside of wrestling that in 2003, he published a self-help financial book, and he was even featured in a 2008 edition of Fortune magazine. Number 8, David Otunga. Now, unfortunately, David Otunga's WWE career never turned out the way he expected. Otunga was introduced on the inaugural season of NXT before being a central member of the popular Nexus faction. When the group disbanded, Otunga was a name that struggled to remain relevant, despite WWE keeping him on television in various roles. Otunga would even be given commentary duties, and his performance in this role was often met with criticism from fans. A lackluster WWE career aside though, Otunga has a net worth of reportedly $10 million. This has been attained thanks to Otunga's legal work as well as various movie and TV projects. Most recently, Otunga appeared in the Disney Plus Marvel show She-Hulk, so it looks like Otunga has firmly cemented his place in Hollywood. Number 7, Ronda Rousey. When Ronda Rousey decided to sign for WWE in 2018, she'd already obtained an average total of around $12 to $13 million from fight revenue from her work in UFC. Rousey was already rich, and both WWE runs were nothing more than Rousey living out her childhood dream of being a WWE star. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing, as we've seen time and time again, as there are names that are already rich beyond their wildest dreams venturing into WWE, names such as Logan Paul and Bad Bunny coming to mind. Rousey's two respective WWE runs no doubt added to her net worth, and as things stand, the former WWE Women's Champion is worth a reported figure of $14 million. Number 6, Batista. Now, upon leaving WWE in 2010, Batista hoped that Hollywood would come calling. This was a very risky move, as Batista was one of WWE's top stars, and him leaving behind a well-paid role to venture into the unknown could have been a disaster. According to the man himself, during an appearance at Denver Comic Con, he went broke upon leaving WWE and even starved. I was making a good living and then I walked out, and then I starved for 3 years. I went broke. I lost everything. I couldn't get a job, and I said I will never go back to wrestling until I prove what I set out to prove, and that was I could make it as an actor. And then I got a role in Guardians. When I got that role in Guardians, I finished the film, and the first call I made after I wrapped up was to Vince McMahon. I said, hey man, I'd really like to come back and wrestle for a little bit. Thankfully, the role of Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy changed his life. In 2025, Batista is a leading man in Hollywood, and he appears in blockbusters left, right, and center. In the past 10 years, Batista has gone from making no money whatsoever to being worth a reported total of $16 million. Number 5, Kurrgan. Kurrgan is mostly known to WWE fans for his work in the Attitude Era. He portrayed various roles, most notably being a key part of the infamous Oddities faction, and he often stood out due to his sheer size and stature. But even though his WWE career didn't turn out as planned, Kurrgan had significant success outside the crazy world of pro wrestling. Kurrgan received his big break when he was cast in the 2006 movie 300. The movie did exceptionally well, and Kurrgan's performance and work ethic were praised extensively. Since then, he has appeared in various projects including Deadpool 2 and Pacific Rim. These are major motion pictures, and Kurrgan would have reaped the financial rewards with his involvement. Number 4. Nathan Jones. During early 2000s, Nathan Jones was a name that WWE could be the next big thing in the company. Jones was initially presented as a protege of The Undertaker, and this was a sign that he was destined for the main event scene in WWE. Unfortunately, his WWE run fizzled out, and by late 2003, he had departed from the company. Now, pro wrestling isn't for everyone, and Jones did the right thing by leaving before the WWE lifestyle got too intense. Jones would venture off into acting, and to say that he has success in this avenue would be an understatement. Jones is regularly featured in movies, and he had a key role in 2 Mad Max movies, alongside names such as Tom Hardy and Anya Taylor-Joy. Jones' net worth is said to be around $2 to $5 million, and it's a sign that not everyone needs WWE to succeed. Number 3. Diamond Dallas Page. Diamond Dallas Page was one of the top stars at WCW, and as a result he was amongst the highest earners in the entire company. This style of contract was likely carried over due to his dire WWE run, and when he was forced to retire from active competition, DDP knew he needed to make money by changing careers. He would create DDP Yoga. This yoga program wasn't just legitimate, it also brought great financial fortunes to DDP. Now, despite not being an active full-time talent in over 2 decades, he has a net worth of approximately $10 million. DDP has used his knowledge of yoga and his financial position to help millions of people across the world, and it's hardly a surprise that fans continue to campaign for the heroic efforts of him to be acknowledged on a grand stage. Number 2. Brock Lesnar. Now, there was a lot of concern that Brock Lesnar may ruin his image when he signed with the UFC in the years after his WWE exit. Transitioning from WWE to UFC was going to be an extremely tough task, and if Lesnar failed in this venture, then it could have had dire consequences. Luckily, Lesnar would end up becoming one of the greatest and most successful UFC fighters of all time. Lesnar was a natural at the sport, and due to Lesnar already having an established name, he was getting paid millions upon millions of dollars from UFC. By the time Lesnar returned to WWE in 2012, he wasn't just set for life, he was insanely rich, and this was predominantly down to a UFC run that brought credibility and credence to the idea that a WWE wrestler could thrive in a different sport. And number 1, The Rock. The Rock was going to stop at nothing to become a leading man in Hollywood. This meant that in 2003, he decided to leave WWE behind him. Although The Rock loved wrestling, he had a passion for acting, and he truly believed that he had the skills to achieve greatness outside of the WWE. Whilst it wasn't easy at first for The Rock to land significant roles, it was a common assertion that he was a typecast, and movie studios just wanted him to play The Rock on screen, but he managed to eventually drift away from this. When the final boss was cast in the Fast and Furious franchise, he became a staple of action movies in Hollywood. The Rock went from struggling to find Hollywood roles to becoming the highest paid actor in 2016, 19, 20, and 2021. The Rock broke barriers, and he showed the world that pro wrestlers could deliver in Hollywood, and it's unlikely that John Cena and Batista wouldn't have been given so many opportunities in Hollywood if it wasn't for the success of the Great One. As things stand, The Rock has a net worth of a reported figure of $800 million, making him one of the richest actors on planet Earth. Over the past decade, The Rock has decided to explore other avenues outside of acting, including various business projects, and even joining the WWE board of directors. But there you have it, folks, 10 WWE wrestlers who made more money not wrestling outside the WWE. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.